Perfectly excellent.
Hey, good afternoon, party people. What's going on?
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to another episode of Perfectly Excellent.
Is this a matinee?
Is this I guess it is. I didn't say evening, did I?
No.
Good afternoon. Well, good evening, wherever you are in the world. You could see we have a guest today, Instagram's own esteemed. I want to say Chava Fernando, but it's really Fernando Chava. There's more. There's a lot more to that name, right?
Indeed, Fernando Chavarria, actually.
Chavarria.
Yeah. Hello,
You're
everyone. I'm so happy to be here. And I'm just laughing because I love, Alan, your pig with the Mega Man helmet in the intro.
Every time I see that, I keep thinking we have to change that. But I'm glad you found it amusing. So maybe we will keep it. But Fernando, so awesome to have you here today. We've been talking about this
for a long while, right?
For a long time. Like we met through the craziness of toy photography on Instagram, and somehow we started chatting about our love of video games. And then
Indeed,
you showed off your personal museum of games. So I've always wanted to get together and really talk about it more in depth. And we're straddling multiple time zones here, but we finally figured out a way to make it work. So
we made it. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here with you guys. Thanks so much, Alan team, for having me. And yeah, I mean, let's talk video games.
Let's do it.
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet. Yeah, you're right.
We have some business to take care of first.
Yeah. Before we do that, I want to say it's going to be an interesting conversation because I think we're all in different phases of like video games. Tim, I know you have a lot of like history growing up and nostalgia, but not so much current on things. Fernando, I think you're a collector when it comes to video games. So you have a lot of things, and I think just anywhere in between. But like Tim said, before we get into it, we've got some business to take care of.
Perfectly excellent.
All right.
So the Invention Exchange, of course, where we all just sort of show something new that we've acquired. And honestly, I feel like our guest should start.
I think that's only polite for our guest to go first.
What's new, Fernando?
Okay. So I got 2 items. Okay. And even though this is a video game stream or video games episode, let's say, I haven't bought video games, or at least retro video games in a while, right? I'm all into toys now. And so what I've brought, it's 2 things. One thing that, Alan, you may have seen already, which was one of my latest acquisitions, which is the Nendoroid Harry Potter. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not really into Nendos. I'm not even really into Harry Potter, but we spent...
Explain yourself then.
We spent we went 5 days with the family to Edinburgh, okay, in Scotland. And I don't know if you know, but J.K. Rowling is her name. Yeah, well, she started writing Harry Potter while she was in Edinburgh, living. There's loads of stores with merchandise. There's a lot of she started writing in this pub, or in this bar was where she was coming to this bar when she was getting influences. There's a graveyard where there's a real grave for
where she died.
Where she got inspiration for names for the book. It's like
where she stole from
Tom Riddle. Yeah, indeed.
We have lots of that stuff in New Jersey, but it's all like George Washington slept here.
I was thinking the same thing here. Everywhere you go in New Jersey is like George Washington ate here, slept here, pooped here. But
it's exactly the same. But yeah, so there's a graveyard with the name Tom Riddle, which is one of the names that Voldemort gets in the series. And so there's a lot of things going on about that. And so I said, okay, I need a good souvenir.
I was going to say, this sounds more like a souvenir than anything else.
Yeah. And so it is actually souvenir. And yeah, I think, I mean, it goes well with all the props that I have, about adventure and that kind of stuff. And so I wanted to grab it. Yeah, I took it as an opportunity.
Yeah.
And
Nintendos are great for toy photography too. Like I have a love-hate relationship with them, but I think they photograph exceptionally well.
They are so expressive and fun for certain kind of pigs. They work really well. And I only had the Wind Waker Nendo till this one, and yeah, I'm really happy. They
Awesome.
photograph really well. They're great.
And
And so my second pick, yeah, it's not video game related, but it's retro in a way. So I'm not as big as I was into collecting vintage toys. Okay, I have a lot back there from my childhood. Saint Seiya, well, we call them Knights of the Zodiac here in Spain. Caballeros del Zodiaco were really big when we were growing up. G.I. Joe, He-Man, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And there's one series that I particularly remember wanting as a kid, but never having this toy. And in a recent toy fair that I attended to, they had this. Bucky O'Hare.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's still in blister, brand new, haven't opened yet. I'm not an let's say mint in box collector. I open everything right away because I want to do pictures with them. It's pretty nice. I mean, for a vintage toy, I think it's pretty well detailed.
Looks like it's in great shape too.
Yeah, it is. It is. The blister is pristine. It's really, really good.
There's going to be people very angry that you're going to open that.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many years has it been sitting like this in perfect condition, and you're going to open it up?
Well, probably it says here from 91. Yeah, so a bunch.
Let it breathe. Let them breathe. Right. I'm the same way.
Yeah,
I'm not a.
Yeah.
I buy toys to photograph and use. So
I sometimes like to cut it open with care, so maybe I can keep the blister and maybe I can pop him right in again sometime.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it was same as with video games. I will say later. I bought some sealed video games in my past and I've opened them all because I wanted to play them, and I have mostly.
Awesome.
Cool. You want to go next, Alan?
Those are my picks.
Very good.
Nice,
I think we need an applause. All right, so I do have an item that is video game related today, and it's also Tim and I, we're always talking about what topics we can cover in future episodes, and I mentioned to him the other day something about old cartoons that we grew up with, and this is something I bought to prep for that conversation because, again, I love talking about nostalgia and revisiting some of the things from our youth to see how well they held up. This one has not held up well. Actually, I don't think it was ever good. But
a lot of the things we watched during our teenage or young years haven't held up that well, right?
Have you watched this though? This is the Legend of Zelda cartoon. There's only 13 episodes.
I think that ran during like the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, right? Like they basically played like half the episode was Zelda and half the episode was the Mario Brothers with Captain Lou.
Correct. Yeah. I don't even know if this is legit.
Was it though?
Yeah, it was. That's where it was in the US.
I don't know about here in Spain. I remember the Super Mario cartoons being, half live action, half cartoon. But then we had like Captain Nintendo, and those were Zelda and some other, that's how I remember it.
In my mind, it's all the Super Mario Super Show where they had everything together. Again, I don't know. My memory is not often correct, but Tim is thinking along the same line. So possibly, right? But this is bad. I don't know if you've got this is really bad. So I'm excited.
Is like Zelda CDI bad?
It's on the level of that. And I'm not even convinced this is a legit release. Like this feels like bootleg quality. It was $11.
Is there a UPC on it?
There is no UPC. Oh no, there is UPC.
Not legitimate then.
Oh no, there is one.
Oh, there is. Okay.
I think it's just cut and paste from something else.
That's bigger than a DVD case, right?
This is a regular DVD case.
Okay, it seemed bigger in the screen.
Yeah,
Okay.
all the episodes are up on YouTube if you want to watch. I'm gonna study when we do our cartoon episode. This will be one of the things I want to go back to. It was not good. Like, I don't remember it being good back in the day. But
No,
what's up, Fernando?
No. I was going to say for your cartoons, please do something about DuckTales, because I mean that series I've rewatched it with my kids. You know, Alan, I love DuckTales. I love also the rerun they did in 2017, I think it was. But the original holds up so well, in my opinion.
All right, we might have to have you back to you talk about it, and we'll experiment. We'll go through it.
Yeah. I can speak to some DuckTales. That was absolutely one that I watched.
All right.
I was a little old for it, but I had a younger brother, so a lot of the stuff that's like a little young for me, like I watched with him, so I'm familiar enough with DuckTales.
What do you got on deck, Tim?
All right, so this is something I've been talking about for a while. This was on my things I was looking forward to this year list. Really excited it finally showed up. I got my Fig Dish LP. That's what love songs often do. Huh. Double LP, blue vinyl.
Very nice.
Very, very nice. Very excited to finally have this on vinyl. This was one of my top records that had never been released on vinyl before. So I grabbed that. And of course, because, I mean, if they're going to make them.
Oh, there's a shirt that comes with
Making good.
Yep.
So, wait.
But wait, there's more. It wasn't just one shirt. There was shirts. Okay.
Plural. There's two. So there's
this one looks familiar. Like I feel like I recall this design from way back.
Yeah, I think it's in the liner notes.
Yeah. So Fig Dish was a band from the early 90s, was it?
That record came out in 95.
Okay, yeah. So mid 90s.
I'm sorry, I don't think I've heard about them. Yeah.
Don't apologize. I think that would be most people's reaction to that. They were one of those bands that got swept up, and they signed to like a major, right, at some point.
They were on Polygram.
Yeah, when everybody was looking for like the next Nirvana or whatever it was, and I don't think they lasted very long after that. But
they put out their second record still came out on Polygram. That came out in 97. I actually like that one a little bit better than the first one, so I'm very hopeful that they'll get to that one, so I can have that one as well, and then maybe some more shirts.
There you go. So what is
that? Also came with some stickers.
Nice, very nice, cool. All right, I think we covered a lot of bases. We had toys, we had cartoons, we had music, we had shirts, and now maybe we jump into the games themselves.
Perfectly excellent.
That was a little loud. Sorry about that.
That was, but it was good. But I mean, games are meant to be loud. I don't know. But this is our kind of, we're going to start at, our press start to begin, our level one. I want to talk to you guys about your humble beginnings when it comes to gaming. What was the first console or game that really pulled you in? And what was it like? What were your introductions to gaming growing up? And Fernando, I'd love to start with you. Like, do you remember, was it a quarter in the arcade? Was it an Atari at home? Where did you first get your start?
My dad has been really into computers and stuff. Since before I was born. So when I was born at a very early age, we had at home.
You were born at a very early age?
That's convenient.
Sorry.
So no, please. When I was really, really young, we already had at home a CX Spectrum. Now, I don't know if you know what that is. It was really big in Europe, specifically in UK, but in Europe, there were these personal computers, these initial personal computers that, they loaded on cassette tapes. So you load the cassette and it would take, I laugh now sometimes when the kids complain about that 20-second loads in video games, because this was like, 5 minutes loading for a game or something like that. Yeah, Tim.
That's the system that the game Horace Goes Skiing.
I was going to ask about that.
You
know that game?
Horace started there. Yeah, of course. There were
Amazing.
a lot of games featuring Horace. Yeah, there were
But
a
he
lot of
apparently
games.
went skiing. That was the one that we know of.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there was a band from England that we're friends with that that's the name of their band was Horace Go Skiing, but that's not
really
a game that anyone in America really knows.
okay. There were I mean, Horace was like the mascot in a way of this because there were a lot of games featuring that weird. I think it was like a blob with long legs or something like that.
Appropriate. Yep.
I think. Yeah. So, but and I even remember that during piracy, anti-piracy stuff was not that let's say common back then. So some radio programs, radio broadcasts would stream sometimes noise, but if you recorded that noise on a cassette tape, that would be a game that you could load on the
Crazy.
section.
Like, here's a new game.
Yeah, exactly. Literally like that. However, even though I remember playing some games there, I have here my first, let's say, experience with video game system, which is this one.
Oh yes, the mighty Game and Watch.
The mighty Game and Watch. I might show you later. I have here like, yeah, a dozen of this. But I distinctly remember playing with my father this one, the Donkey Kong multi-screen. This is actually my original from 88.
That's amazing.
Not the box. The box is a reproduction, okay, in this case.
Mm-hmm.
But this is my original video game, still in working order, though it doesn't have batteries now. And I remember getting, with my father, like, okay, let's see how many times or who wins by trying to, I don't know the expression in English. In Spanish is dar la vuelta, like clock. I mean, getting to the maximum amount of points, which was 999, and then getting to 1,000, it would reset to 0. So we were trying to see how many times we could reset to 0, my father and I, on this. And yeah, this was my first experience with video game system.
Yeah, and we're gonna get into collecting later, but I am that's so cool that you have yours, but also so cool that you have that, because I always look at those Game and Watch, the sets at the toy shows, and the prices on them are just not affordable. So, at least not affordable for me.
I've bought a few broken ones, and I've been able to fix most of them. I still have one that I haven't worked in, but sometimes it's been sold way cheaper because it doesn't turn up, or the screen looks weird or washed out or whatever, and the fixes are not that difficult to pull off.
Definitely. Oh, look, Chris dropping in the chat.
Hey, Chris.
Afternoon, Chris. We were just getting started with our origins playing games, and Fernando was sharing about I don't know, did you actually beat your dad when it came to this? Who came out, who won?
I don't know. He was good. He was good. I don't know. I think maybe at some times I managed to beat him. But yeah, however, I distinctly remember that I'm not gonna lie about the birthday or the year it was, but one Christmas my father reached out to me and said, I think it's time to get our first, let's say, console with interchangeable cartridges, right? Because you could only play this. Mm-hmm. And so I remember going to the store to try them out, because none of my friends still had any Game Boy, Game Gear, Super NES, SNES, whatever it is.
I love that he called you, like, this is like, you're like becoming a man now. It's like, Fernando.
Yeah. It's like coming of age, right? It's like, it's time for your first cartridge-based thing, right? For your real.
Yep.
Yeah. I remember that. And I remember that having played so much about this, I was sure that I wanted a portable system. Mm-hmm. So much so that, looking back, the real systems I've had are all portable systems. Now I have I've purchased some home consoles, vintage home console stuff, but I've never owned a PlayStation or an Xbox. I now have a
Interesting.
Switch. Why? Because I can take it with me. And back in the day, we went to the stores. I was saying, I tried them out, and they had the Game Boy and the Game Gear. So Nintendo's Game Boy and Sega's Game Gear, and the Sega Game Gear just blew my mind. Because
Poor
it was
Nintendo.
early. Yeah, but I mean, face to face, if you know nothing about systems, you know nothing about the games that come. I mean, you see face to face. One is a dark greenish, which I love the Game Boy, of course, and we'll get
No
into
offense,
that.
of course. Yeah.
But on the other side, you have this bright screen, color screen, and I remember playing Sonic in the store, testing it out, and so that's why what we have here in Spain, not so much so now, but it wasn't Santa Claus for Christmas. It was the Three Wise Men. What the ones that brought us gifts here, they still do, but now Santa Claus is much a bigger thing.
Wait, the three wise men are still bringing you gifts?
Yeah,
Oh.
of course. Yeah.
Today I learned.
And so, yeah, the more you know.
So wait,
And
and
so
then you're gonna tell us that this is that console that you got that day
Yeah.
with your dad?
Yeah.
All right. Unreal. Like it's
That's it.
I want to talk about this because this one's definitely going to be near and dear to your heart. So hold on to that for one sec. I want to ask Tim and see, like, where were you? You were the oldest of the brothers, so
I was.
You were leading the way, so to speak.
Yeah, and I don't really remember which came first. So I actually just threw together two slides because I wanted to just kind of show it. But like my earliest video game memory, like the first console I had was the ColecoVision. And that's most of my earliest video game memories, and specifically these games. Like I loved these games, and Mousetrap was like my favorite. It was like a Pac-Man clone. But I spent a lot of time with me and my younger brother playing ColecoVision as our first console. But like right next to it was these like portable versions. I had Pac-Man, and this weird Sears thing that was not really a video game, but it was just sort of like this handheld game, and you turn the little orange wheel and it kind of makes the car.
Yeah.
So like between these three things and the ColecoVision, that's kind of where I start with video games. I don't really have a memory of which of them I had first. I think it was probably the ColecoVision, but that's where my video game stuff starts. Like I liked arcade stuff, but for me, arcade stuff was after the fact. It was not the first thing I experienced.
Where's like your core memory? Is it ColecoVision or is it like these guys? It's
these guys. I remember taking these to my grandmother's house. Like when we went to my grandmother's house, I would bring one of these along with me. So I have a lot of memories.
Portable gaming, right there.
Yeah, I have a lot of memories of playing with those there. And then at home, it was very much ColecoVision until we got to like the Nintendo stuff. One of the other things that I will say is like, I ended up with the Game Boy eventually. And like Fernando, I still have my original Game Boy. I think it's in my attic right now, which is probably not good for it, but I still have my original Game Boy.
We should have got all our old consoles out, what we have, and like had some kind of like competition so you can grab a high score. But awesome.
Also multiplayer.
Well, what about you?
For me, yeah, I think Fernando, you and I might have a similar story. As we find, the more we get to know each other, we have very similar stories. But I blame my dad. I think my dad was very much into video games, and he liked gadgets even growing up. He liked, he had video cameras before you were supposed to have video cameras, these giant things. And I remember growing up, we had a couple systems that I didn't know too well. We had Pong in the house, and we also had something called like Combat. It was like just like a multiplayer console, had a bunch of joysticks on it, and you can play all these different kind of tank combat games on it. Those I was probably too young for, but the first console that I really like got addicted to was the Intellivision. And I think we got ours from Sears, which is a department store here in the US. They made like, I guess they had their own kind of branded version of it. But man, did I love that thing. And I will say, I don't have much from my youth, but I do still have that. somewhere, like in the basement. And that had games like Astro Smash. Remember, we played Bump and Jump a lot. And these were like arcade games that were ported to a lot of things. There was a Space Invaders on that. One that multiplayer that my brother and I used to play was Math Fun, of all games, where you each played as a gorilla running down the screen alongside a river, and you would come to a math problem. If you got the math problem right, you could keep running. You played that one?
Yeah.
You get the river and have to swim. So that's where I got my start. I want to, you got your Sega out, and I want to talk more about that because, well, I'm fond of it's not really where my heart is when it comes to nostalgia for video. I wanted to kind of see where you guys, when you think of video system, like what is it that you get overwhelmed by the feels? Is it the Game Boy? Is it the Game Gear? What systems really kind of hold the most nostalgia for you today? For Fernando, you have the box in hand. You want to keep going there?
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, definitely is the Game Gear, because, I mean, also the Game Boy, because I ended up having a Game Boy not long after I had the Game Gear. But I remember the Game Gear being also pretty hot in my group of friends. So there were like 4, 5 more friends that had them. So we would meet at a friend's house, with the link cables, play Wimbledon. It was also like something that a lot of my friends, or I guess my parents' friends, knew that I had this system. So every birthday I would get new games. And so what I mean with this is that it lasted a really long period in my life, being the system of choice. I remember I also had this thing to plug into your car.
So you could power forever on those road trips. Yep.
When we were on those trips, because a lot of people now and back in the day complains about the battery life of the Game Gear. It's true, but I never had batteries. I mean, I was playing at home mostly. I was afraid to take it outside to play somewhere and have it broken or something.
So you had unlimited power, right?
But only at home.
Only at home. Cool.
Yeah.
But that's the one that's like, when you see that console, where you think about those console and that games, that's the one that takes you right back to that little boy.
When I see this bundle here with Sonic, okay, there were several in Spain. We had, this is the Game Gear branding in Europe, right? Which with these little squares, gray squares, this grid. All the games, or most of the games, come with this. It was different in the US, I know, but to me this screams childhood. This set specifically with Sonic, which is, I will talk maybe later, it's also a really, really nice game in my opinion. And yeah, so what else can I say? This
I know I want to hug it. Like I'm feeling feeling it. Tim, is it like you and I have talked about the ColecoVision in the past, and but I don't know, is there more for you? Like, was there the NES or?
Well, that's kind of like my heart is in like several different places. Like, as far as equating a video game just to like nothing but joy, it's the ColecoVision, because I was really young when that happened. And like, I only have like good positive memories of that thing. Even when like that became the secondary system, when the Nintendo came out, the ColecoVision got moved to my grandparents' house. So we still played it well into like the early 90s. Like when we went to my grandparents, well, maybe not the early 90s, but certainly the late 80s when we went over to my grandparents' house. So I have the most like pure nostalgia for the ColecoVision, but like those games are, they're really early games. So there's not like a super ton of replay value with a lot of those. So, obviously the NES is probably where I learned to play like, the first run of modern video games.
Sure.
So I have a lot, and I know you want to ask about specific games, so I won't say anything about that yet. But the NES was a very specific thing. Those little Coleco cabinets are a very specific thing. And then there are like a handful of arcade games that the game itself doesn't even really matter so much as like the very specific memories attached to them. Indeed. So like the first one on the left there, Super Sprint.
Oh yeah.
I have such memories of going to an arcade. My dad would sometimes take us to an arcade and me, my brother, and my stepsister could all play that at the same time. And it was one of the few things that we could actually do. Yep. So like I have like just really strong memories of that game. And
just whipping the steering wheel like as fast as you could. Yep.
Yeah, with the pedal on the floor.
Yep. Also, did you ever play that one, Fernando?
No, not really. No.
But that was a big one. We also had that for Nintendo eventually. And then like the Ninja Turtles arcade game, like that when that came out in like 88 or 89 or whatever it is, the Ground Round by my dad's house had it in the front of the building. Ground Round was a restaurant chain, Fernando, that existed back then. So when we would go to the Ground Round and then we would get some quarters and run out front. And again, this was one that multiple people could play at the same time. So I remember that very specifically. And then Cruising USA was one that was at the bowling alley that I went to when I was in high school. And it was like kind of like the most modern, fanciest looking game of 1994. Yeah. So that was a big one. And then like pinball, I've always I'm not good at pinball, but I've always loved playing pinball when I go to an arcade, more so than playing video games. Because for me, video games have always kind of been like an at-home thing. But the Theater of Magic pinball game is my favorite one. And if they weren't like $12,000, I would love to get my hands on one of those.
Hey, Costco has a Star Wars pinball cabinet that just came out. Yeah, like $5,000.
Well, there's also like a really cool Godzilla pinball cabinet that's like, $5,000-6,000, but like who's, come on. I can't. I can justify a lot of stupid discretionary spending, but a pinball machine is not one of those things I can do.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. I always sucked at pinball games. Like
I'm not good at it. It's just fun.
Yeah, they were fun, but I get my hand-eye coordination, trying to be cool and like hold the ball and then flick it in a certain spot. Forget it.
So, but what about you? What are the things that really kind of drive your like early, like those nostalgic memories, like the things that you see and like your heart swells?
Yeah. See, I feel like a traitor when I say this, or I feel like I'm doing wrong because again, I went from Intellivision to the NES, and like you, Tim, like you're saying, like that's where I cut my teeth when it comes to gaming. That's when gaming changed from, again, being a gorilla solving mouth problems and jumping in. That's what I Metroid, Zelda, like when I was just completely consumed. So while I have a lot of like nostalgia for that, it's not the system that I'm like, that when I see, like I light up. And I've played almost probably every Nintendo system since then. I played the PlayStation, but the one that gets me in the feels every single time is this little guy right here. The Game Boy Advance. Yeah, I knew you, because again, but
it's so weird though, because like we were like grown-ups when that came out.
We were grown-ups, but
I was living in Jersey City when that came out.
I told Alan not long ago that I asked my parents for my 18th birthday for a GBA SP, and my mother was like,
"Get a job.
Aren't you too old for this?"
Yep.
But my dad convinced her though. So, but yeah, we were ready. I mean,
yeah, we were we were adults. I think I probably had like an apartment by then. I think when this thing came out,
but yeah, you definitely did. Because again, I bought mine at a bodega in Jersey City, and like so that was like 2001 or something like that. So
I was well into.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
How? I mean, can I ask how old are you guys, or what year you said you were born? Because I'm from '84. I think you're probably a little bit earlier. Maybe just things got a little bit late here in Europe.
Though. I've got 10 years on you, Fernando. So okay. I'm 74,
and I'm 76.
Okay.
Yes. You don't look 76. You don't look a day over.
Yeah, no, 75.
Yeah.
I mean, you look fantastic. That's why
really hold it
I was saying. Yeah, I mean the Coleco. I know it got in the US early than in the Europe, but the math didn't add up.
The math wasn't mathing. Yeah, and you're right. I was probably way too old to gravitate to this. But there was one game. There was, I think, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 on this, and that was it. I was just like glued to this thing.
That was the one that was with the zenithal vision, right?
It was the isometric view. Yeah, it was like
view,
impossible to play, but I'll still fire it up and play it because I still love it so much.
See, but that's weird to me because, like, for me, that the Game Boy Advance, that's like the last system that I felt like I could play most of the games on before they advanced to a level to where like they just didn't
advanced
anymore.
Yeah. But for me, it like I never really got into the Game Boy, the original one. My younger brother had the Atari Lynx, and I played that a lot. But you talked about batteries, Fernando. That thing chewed through batteries like nothing. Like you would go through batteries in one night, like whatever it was, like 10 AA batteries. You'd play a couple games, it was dead.
It was definitely worse than the Game Gear. Yeah.
Yeah. So I played that, and I didn't play the Game Boy, but this was like the first time that I could just take games with me wherever I went. And that just completely spoke to me. And it started off just my obsession with handheld consoles at that point. Like the Game Boy, the SP, anything that you could just take on the road was amazing. And we'll get more into the handhelds in a little bit, but that's go ahead. Sorry.
Well, but I got to say, like, the thing for me about the Game Boy Advance more than anything was the flash cards.
Oh, yeah,
that's what separates the Game Boy Advance from any system I'd ever seen before that. And again, yes, it was cool to be able to download Game Boy Advance games and not necessarily have to pay for them, but I usually just bought the games. But being able to run the emulators on it so I could play the NES games and stuff like that, like that was a big deal, I thought. And again, that's what I look at most fondly about that system.
You felt like a real hacker, Bert. I remember your parallel port connection to the and you put it there, and
it was like a printer cable that you had to hook up to it.
Yeah,
and this is funny too to think about, like, what the small world it is. Like Fernando and I had talked in the past about, we were hanging out on the same forums, like for the ROM Kids forums, like GBA Temp, where we, that's where all the games would come out. Yeah, that was. I remember getting. I think it was Metroid Fusion, like the Japanese ROM dropped before the game came out, and like freaking out because I was leaving for vacation. I'm like, I gotta get this on my cart, and like, again, hooking it up, and 9 out of 10 times it wouldn't work, so you'd have to keep trying. But I'd forgotten about those days too. Those flash carts really, like, I don't know. I got heavily invested in that and making sure I kept every ROM that came out.
Exactly, and checking the GBA Temp every day to see what new games. Ooh, a new Hannah Montana game, whatever it is.
I have to download it. Barbie Horse Racing. I need it. Yeah. Oh, it's too funny. Yeah, go ahead, Tim. Sorry.
Well, I was gonna say, so if we're talking about that, like, if you were going to name, like, the 2 or 3 games that, like, that's you, like, are they gonna be Game Boy Advance games, or are you going earlier? Like, what? How would you put that together as far as like the 2 or 3 like most important games?
Yeah, that's a tough one, and it'd be much easier if you asked per console. Like, if we're really going to talk our games,
yeah, we're 40 minutes in, so I don't know if we can do it per console.
Well, I don't want to be rude to our guests, so Fernando, would you like to take that and talk about what are the top games, or what are if you had to take like one game, what is it, the Desert Island? That you can play. You can only play one game.
Podium. Your top 3 games, no matter the system. Not necessarily your favorite games, but the ones that you think are the most important, the most impactful, the ones you go back to and go, "That was a game."
So I'm not trying not to repeat myself with Sonic on the Game Gear, because that would definitely be one.
Well, that can be one of them, of course.
Let's see, if I can only think about 2, then I'll say that's the third one.
Okay.
So one game that absolutely blew me away back in the day was Super Mario Land 2 for the Game Boy. So the 6 golden coins, I think it was its complete name, because it was such a huge difference from Super Mario Land 1. I mean, the graphics were so detailed, the screen, and I remember playing so much. I didn't have. I mean, at first I remember playing it on the console and system of my friends, And then when I got it a few years later, or 1 year later, or something like that, it totally blew me away that a system this tiny could pull that off. So, and I've played that one to completion. I mean, I'm not hundreds of times, but dozens of times, and I love it. I certainly love it. Another one that I really distinctly remember as being a game that I've played a lot of times, that every time I boot it up, I have a great time and I love everything about it. It's Donald Duck's The Lucky Dime Caper in the Game Gear.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I think I have it.
Game Gear is a
here
big
somewhere.
void to me, Fernando. Like I don't know any Game Gear games.
So this is it.
Huh?
The
Yeah,
Lucky Dime Caper, Donald Duck. This is, you know, these have the Disney flavored animation
Mhm.
art style of the video games on, and it was really fun, and it's certainly one of the games that have been really impactful in my life. And this for the third one, that's a tough one. I'm gonna say Castlevania 3 on the NES. Castlevania 3 on the NES, because I never, so I got to play 1 and 2, but later on. But during the holidays, I went to my grandparents, and sometimes it's in a village near in the north of Spain, and we use it. I mean, one of the neighbors had this NES, and they were already older, and so they just lent me the system to play with it at home.
amazing.
And they gave me a couple of games. I cannot even remember the other one because I spent my time playing Castlevania 3. It just blew me away, you know, the music, the ambience, and the difficulty as well. It got me really hooked. So I'd say, yeah, maybe those three.
Is that Castlevania 3 still regarded as a good game? Because I love Castlevania
I don't
2,
know.
like Simon's Quest or whatever it was. And people
Yeah.
growing up, then I found out that that game sucked.
So cryptic. So
I'm like, I
cryptic.
love that game. I didn't know it sucked. No one told me. But hey, Keith, Chris, chime off. Sound out if you got any games that come to mind. But
Do you need more time to think still, Alan? Do you want me to go?
yeah, go right ahead.
Or you
Go ahead,
are you-
Tim.
I could go, but if
All right. Well, for me, it's tough to do 3 because Mousetrap and Donkey Kong for the ColecoVision are like those are like almost the same game, as weird as that sound, because like those core memories are just so like they're so together. If I had to pick one, I think that Mousetrap aged better, so I would pick Mousetrap as my number 3. Number 2 is actually not a game that I love as much now, but it was really important back when it came out, was Super Mario Brothers 2. That was like a huge, big game when I first got the Nintendo. And that was the first Nintendo game I ever beat. So,
and that's the weird one, right? That's like that's the Doki Doki Panic that
exactly.
Yeah. But I love that one too.
Meant to be a Mario game, but like that was a super big one for me as far as NES. But like
the music from that one is always in my head. Like when you start the level and kind of like jump down, I'm like in my head to this day.
And my number 1 will not surprise Alan at all because I talk about this game all the time. I played it last week. I play it all the time. Whenever I try any emulating thing, it's the first game that I download. I still think the best game ever created is RC Pro-Am. I love that game so much.
Another one with that recognizable theme song and just that round of applause. Solid list. A lot of variety.
Indeed.
Again, this
I
is
had the original NES cartridge, but I sold it not long ago. That's the one that was coded by Rare, right?
Rare, yeah.
Yeah, that was another. Again, we'll get into collecting next too, because I had that, I sold that, and there's a lot of regret, which we'll talk about momentarily. But so okay, games that were really important to me or impactful. Again, I guess I will go back to the NES because the Legend of Zelda, the first Legend of Zelda, that just completely blew my mind. It's funny to think about it now that, you think it was an open world. Well, compare that to like today's open world games, not quite the same, but yeah, there was no linear path. Like you got that sword and you could go anywhere. And then just even when you found a spot like the dock, when you needed the raft and you're like, what is on the other side of this? Like my imagination was completely blown. I had like the map that came with the Nintendo Power or whatever it was. And then even working with my mom, we would like on graph paper, we were sketching out maps of areas. And the one area that I remember too, like finding the graveyard was like wild to me. Like I felt like I had reached a whole new realm. So that is probably one of the games that's made the biggest impact on me in my life. And same thing with Metroid, because there was so much exploration. And then there was glitching in Metroid where you can get stuck in a door. And then I think if you press like up and down, like you could bomb your way into different levels. So that, like, I felt like I was like in Tron or something when I was playing that game. Like I've gone off the grid. I've broken the system. And to this day, like when I think of Nintendo, it's never Mario for me. Aside from Mario Kart, I played Mario games, but it's always been Legend of Zelda and Metroids that speak to me. So that's two, huh?
Yep.
I'm trying to think beyond that. You talked about when you fire up an emulator or something, Tim. There's one game, same for me, that anytime I'm doing anything, I'm actually replaying it again for probably the millionth time right now. I have on a Game Boy Advance SP emulator that I'm playing. I'll show that in another episode. I'm playing Advance Wars. Like that one, still to this day, I could sit down and and get lost in like battle after battle.
That one. Yeah.
All right. Can I throw in one other question? What is the one totally under the radar game that you love that you don't think gets enough attention?
I'm trying to remember the full title of it. I have it. I wish I knew this. I would have dug it out.
I just thought of it.
Okay. I know mine. So you guys are thinking, so I can go. It is
go ahead.
Henry Hatsworth and the Puzzling Adventure, released on the DS. This game is phenomenal. Is the
DS or the 3DS?
It's a DS game.
Okay.
So it's a platformer, but first of all, it has so much character and charm. You're like a dapper gentleman, and you're platforming and you're defeating enemies. And as you defeat enemies, they go onto the second screen where they start to like accumulate in like this Tetris-y kind of block, or it's like a matching block game. But if you let it go, that'll keep going up and up until they come back into the main screen. So you have to switch to that screen often and like kind of do the little puzzle game, and you can unlock power-ups through that. It's a phenomenal game from end to end with a fun story, great characters, amazing sound, amazing music. Plays great on an emulator, on a handheld, as long as you don't mind switching between screens. That is definitely one of the most underrated games that I've ever played. And I've been like preaching for this game ever since it came out way back when, because I don't know that it sold well, but it is a phenomenal game. Henry Hatsworth and the Puzzling Adventure, Nintendo DS.
I'm wondering if it had some sort of 3DS follow-up or something, because I remember buying digitally on the 3DS a title with a similar name, but I don't know if I played it or
what. See, it might not be too far out of range. I might be able to grab my hands on it, but who would like to go next?
I just grabbed mine from
from
there. Darkwing Duck for the Game Boy. I think it was also released for the NES. Is basically Mega Man on steroids. Okay, it was made by Capcom as well, and it's in my opinion way better Mega Man than Mega Man 3 and 4 and 5. And I just don't hear a lot about this game, even in hidden gems, videos, or whatever it is. And so I had a lot of fun with this. And if you enjoy Mega Man and that sort of platformers, Darkwing Duck, and I think it was basically the same for the NES and the Game Boy.
I'm looking to see if I have this one right now. While you're talking about it.
And so it's a really, really interesting game. Yeah.
All right. Well, for me, it goes back to the NES, back to the original Nintendo. And I think the game that never gets any credit at all is The Adventures of Lolo.
Oh,
that game rules. It is like one of the most perfect puzzle games. I love that game, and I never, ever, ever hear anyone talk about it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I do agree. It's a really fun game. It's somewhere.
Have to go back. It's somewhere back there. Yeah, I want to grab Henry Hatsworth. I know he's here somewhere. Awesome.
Sorry,
well, that's a surprise list there. Yeah. Sorry, Tim. I talked over you. Say that again.
Oh, I sidetracked us a little bit, so I know there's some more stuff you wanted to get to.
Yeah.
No, that was a good sidetrack. So
yeah, of course.
I think it's a perfect segue. So we talked about the systems, we talked about the games. Now I'm curious where our adult money comes into play. And Fernando, you still have you managed to hang on to your stuff when you were a kid. Tim, you have some.
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Okay. What has adult money done for you when it comes to video games? Like, are there games you're actively hunting for? You were very kind and you sent me some Game Boy and Game Boy Advance games from your collection. I think they were duplicates that you had. So I know you're picking up stuff left and right. Like, is there a specific system you focus on? Or,
yeah. Guess which one?
The Sega Dreamcast. Definitely your Game Gear.
When I start, I mean, it's basically the same story as what got me into toys.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back the toys from my childhood. So when I started having a little money, started working, and I said, because I had my Game Gear, but no, I mean, I couldn't find my games. After a few years, I found back at my parents' 4 or 5 games, but I couldn't find the games because you lend it to a friend, and of course the boxes, you tore the boxes apart, and or your mom threw them away or whatever it is. So anyone's
collective mothers, yes,
moms, right? And so I and also, I mean, when we are talking here, I think we are alike, the three of us, in which we have collector's mind, right? And you want to, and you are forced, but you are pushed towards a goal and to collect, and it doesn't matter if it's LPs, if it doesn't matter if it's movies, video games, toys, whatever, or everything all together, right? But for me, it started with that, with the Game Gear games, and also because in Europe they were like 194 games, something like that, released during 6 or 7 years. I think it was from 91 to 97, something like that. So it was an achievable goal. It was never my goal to get the full European set, because there are some games that go for crazy money. But at least get the ones that I had, of course, all in their boxes.
Oh wow! So you're a completionist here. You need them. Like,
I do need them.
Oh my gosh, it's wild.
I
just appreciate that all of them are in containers as well. Like,
yeah, of course.
Record collector, you get a big thumbs up for that, because all of my records are always in the poly.
I got these.
So, and so what sorry, sidetrack. So I was saying, I wanted to get the games that I had and the ones that interested me back in the day, but I didn't get. But I got really deep into the collectors community, and so I met with a lot of virtually met with a lot of collectors, and so we helped each other out getting, because some stuff was more common in Spain than it was in the UK, or in Greece than it was in Italy, or whatever. So there was a wide community, and also I got really, I mean, this I'm talking about 15, 16 years ago. And a lot of people still, I mean, internet or people didn't look into eBay when they were selling stuff, or they didn't go into the specific channel. So you could find in the wild, and by the wild I mean, online forums, online shops, second-hand shops, you could find really rare stuff quite cheap. I mean, they could sell like 2 games for 20 euros. One of them maybe is worth 10 and the other one maybe is worth 200 in the collectors community, right?
But it was harder to find that out, like back in the day. You just had no idea, right?
Exactly. But I knew for good or for bad. I'm not proud of this, but my collection started with the money I earned for selling to specific collectors some games that I found in the wild. And so I said, okay, I'm gonna keep these from this loot, and I'm gonna keep this, and so I started, and then I started grabbing not only the ones that I had as a kid or the
There's
ones
no
that I
shame
wanted.
in this, though, Fernando.
Yeah.
I mean, you flip things, and you got
as my wife says, if you did that with like apartments or houses, I would be pretty mad. But with video games, so you're not robbing anything from anyone. No.
If you did that with apartments and houses too, you'd probably have all the money for all the systems and all the games. But another story.
Oh, wait.
Hang on.
We have one of these. I just want to let Keith know that you must have gotten here late, because I did a whole little thing about how much I love the ColecoVision. So just wanted to bring that up.
So pull that back up. I wanted to see his games real fast. I'll just go back to Atari 2600 ColecoVision, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I played that. I didn't have game. I didn't have a Atari growing up, but I remember that one being unplayable.
I did have an Atari 2600, but it stunk. Like I very rarely played it. And the game that I remember most for the Atari 2600 is they had a Journey game, like the band Journey, that just played like it played
with digitized faces, right? Or
you just kind of like ran and shot, and it played a MIDI version of Don't Stop Believing while you played it.
That was all over my head. I felt like, the odd kid, again, with the Intellivision. All the cool kids had Ataris. I had nothing.
Sorry, and just to finish this up. So I started also shifting to the game, to trying to get rare Game Gear games, but at a good price. So I want to showcase a few, because even I wasn't aware that this had released in Europe back in the day. But we have Super Return of the Jedi with the Super,
interesting.
Is the branding of the Super Nintendo. I mean, these games were called Super Return of the Jedi because they were on the Super Nintendo. But this is on the Sega platform, this one. And it's called Super Return of the Jedi.
How does it compare to the Super Nintendo version? I'm curious.
It's pretty accurate for an 8-bit portable version. Yeah. I mean, I don't know stage by stage, but it's decent. It's
fascinating.
There were some late. This one is from '96, I believe. The Adventures of Batman and Robin, which is also pretty hard to come by.
Is that one you knew as a kid, or is that one you?
No. I didn't. I mean, I also was living in a small town, and we had what it was called Centromail, which is like game shops now. And we didn't get a lot of things, and maybe you saw in magazines, but not really. But there was one really weird case of a game that is so common, but it's so rare at the same time, and it's this one. Hold on a second. I think it's called Sega Game Pack 4-in-1. So this was bundled with, I mean, you saw this bundle with Sonic, but if you didn't get the Sonic, there were 2 other bundles, with one with columns and one with this game, but loose in the box. So loose inside the system box.
Who would buy that bundle? Who would not buy the Sonic bundle, right?
Yeah, I don't know, but it was more expensive because it also came with an AC adapter, and the others did not. So it was a little bit more expensive. But so this is the most common game because of that. If you want to find it loose, it's a rubbish game. It's just 4 mini games. That's all. But since everyone had it with the system, not a lot of people bought it on box, and it had a really limited run. And
Awesome.
this one I've seen go for way over 800, 900 euros, even 1,000 euros, something like that, boxed as this one. Yeah,
Wild.
yeah. But as I was saying, it didn't cost me that, thankfully.
And is it even a good game? Is it fun to play?
No, not at all. It's just 4 mini games. One about football, so soccer, columns, rally, and tennis. It just not much.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Keith is chiming in that Journey was in arcades as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the one that had the digitized faces of the members of the band, and the one I recalled. Yeah,
bad games, and you know what, the Atari 2600 games being unplayable is not because I was a bad gamer. It's because those games stunk, especially when you would compare them to the ColecoVision games, which like it just wasn't even a comparison.
Yeah,
I just felt depressed. Like I played the 2600 alone in my room, and the ColecoVision was in like the family television area, so I didn't play it much. And again, those games all are horrible looking.
No, E.T. was great though, wasn't it?
No, it's not a good game. I just remember playing. I had a Pac-Man version on it, and it looked like a 3-year-old tried to.
Yeah,
draw
that was
Pac-Man.
not Pac-Man.
It was so bad.
Those are famous for how bad they are.
Yeah, I do not have any nostalgia for the 2600 because I just think it's a bupkis system.
It's crazy. I know this is going to be a wild card for you, Tim, but is there anything that you still have or that you would collect or ever buy, like video games or video game related, or is it kind of like you're good where you are with with that stuff?
Yeah, like I said, I have my Game Boy in the attic. I don't have any of the games anymore. I sold them at some point because I had a decent amount of them. I probably had 20 or 30 Game Boy games like from when I was a kid, and I just got rid of them at some point. I have a Game Boy Advance clamshell one somewhere. And I think I still have my 2 Advance War games for it because I just couldn't ever bring myself to sell those. But no, I don't have a ColecoVision. I don't it's just kind of a pain in the neck. I don't really game much anymore. I tried to follow along. I did, I had a Super Nintendo, I had a Nintendo 64, I had a GameCube. I like the GameCube, but every one of those other systems, I had maybe 10 games for. And that's all I ever really had. I did buy it. Alan convinced me to buy an Xbox 360 when that came out. That was a lot of fun, playing online with people. But again, I had less than a dozen games for that. I have a Switch now. I play it a little bit. I don't really play it much. And when I do play it, I mostly play older games. I like that you can play a bunch of NES games, a handful of Super Nintendo games. And most of the games that I've bought for most Switch games, they're basically GameCube games. I have Super Monkey Ball. The Mario versus Donkey Kong. I really like that game because that was an old Game Boy game that I thought was awesome. So having that, so it's basically just I'm stuck in the past in a lot of ways, but very much so with video games. But not the collector mindset has not done that because I don't have room for another collection. I can't. Yeah. Video games and books are the things where I just had to kind of wash my hands and go, I'm going to have to be okay with digital versions of those.
Yeah. Looking behind you though, I think you're doing okay.
Yeah.
I don't think it's affected you much.
No.
If anything, it's probably helped you, with this stuff.
Yeah. And I have an entire room that's nothing but records and CDs. I have, hundreds and hundreds of DVDs and Blu-rays. So I had to just take a step back and go, I cannot accumulate the physical versions of everything.
Everything.
Something's gotta give. Yeah. And I'm fighting a good fight. I look at stuff. I'm constantly on eBay now. You mentioned the Game Boy Advance SP. I am looking at those auctions. I'm checking out Facebook Marketplace. What's that?
For the 101?
For the 101, yeah. Definitely you need the 101 had the brighter screen, the better screen. I think the original SPs were front lit or something. So the colors would wash out. So they replaced the screen in it for some system. The one you sold, Tim, the Nintendo the NES version. That was I think, an AGS 101 screen in that. So that was a more desirable one. But yeah, I look at those and they're not super expensive, but I'm trying to find like a nice pristine one. Like a lot of them on eBay are just destroyed. So I haven't quite dipped my foot back into buying games. I've bought some Game Boy Advance games, and I did this very strategically. I said, I'm not going to go crazy. Like you, Fernando, I was thinking of what are the games that I want, that I played. So the ones I'm after, like the Game & Watch Collection Volume 4 on the Game Boy Advance. I played the hell out of that game. Like I still love playing that. It's something that I'll play on an emulator every now and then just to kill time.
Yeah.
So that was one I picked up. Like the Metroids I would like to get, Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission. You were kind enough to send me the Minish Cap. Though we don't know if that's a legit copy or not, but
we don't care.
Yeah. But one thing I do buy when it comes to video games, and I'm going to start, like I had one I just picked up, but I'm going to start with this. And this kind of just ties everything together, is like the toys, like the figures. Like that's just kind of, I can't resist them. Yeah. So this is Red Knight from Castle Crashers, Link from Tears of the Kingdom. Like that stuff, as I try to control my spending when it comes to toys, I made categories like don't buy, but if anything video game related, like it gets a pass if it has that nostalgia. And like these guys definitely do. So
indeed, I have one of the shelves here behind. It's just specifically that one. There you have all the video game stuff, right? You have Zelda, Mario, Sonic, Street Fighter, Splatoon, Kirby, Mega Man, all that. Yeah, it's a way.
Just more of that stuff. Like again,
so
trying to live it. There you go.
That's the Hot Wheels right?
I bought that in when I went to Japan. So I think that's the only. I think it's Tomika.
Okay.
However that's pronounced. I think that's the only video game toy I have.
Well, there you go. You had one, and it was right in arm's reach. Did you get it just for this, or was it there?
Yes, I planned this.
No, I mean, like, what did you bring it out for this episode?
No, that's it. Just on your desk. Like, I have a couple of just Matchboxy things that just kind of live on my desk, and that's one of them.
Yeah.
The one thing that
this is one of mine.
Oh, nice, Kirby. I was just out with the family a day or two ago, and one thing that I look at every time I'm in a Lego store is that damn Legend of Zelda Lego set. Like I would love to pull the trigger on that, but it's just, I think it's $300 and I would only be in it for the minifigures. Like the Deku Tree build is not super great, but so I'm fighting a good fight right now not to buy the games. I'm heavily, and we're going to talk about this on another episode because this one requires its own, but I'm heavily into, like I showed off this before. This is my reshelled Game Boy Advance. And in all transparency, this is Keith's old Game Boy Advance that I put a new screen in, put a rechargeable battery in, replaced the buttons and shell. So it made it into like a more modern system. So this has the original guts of a Game Boy Advance, but I'm super into these things too. So this is not an original Game Boy Advance. This is a Abernic RG34XX. So you can see there's 4 buttons. These 2 are hidden there. There's no game slot. This is just a handheld emulator built to look and feel like the Game Boy Advance. And I mean, it's spot on. Like it's really hard to tell the difference, especially when you have that muscle memory around these systems. And they released an SP version of this, which I have as well. That's where I spend my collector's money on these days. Like I'm just, and again, we have to do a whole episode because they're scattered all around my desks.
You have so much of those.
Those to like the higher end Android ones. So I need therapy there.
I haven't bought video games. I'm sorry.
No, but Alan doesn't collect things. Don't you know that? Haven't you? If you've ever watched any of these, Alan doesn't.
I'm fighting that label of a collector, yes, but
I
don't. As I step on them everywhere. Here's like another one of the older SPs.
Literally stepping on them.
Well, because I'm getting them ready for that episode, so we'll talk about that when the time is right. But
so I was going to say that after the Game Gear, so it came the Game Boy, I started buying Mega Drive. That's Genesis for you guys, right? The Sega Genesis. It's called Mega Drive here in Spain. Then I got to the Game and Watches. I got to the Neo Geo Pocket. I bought an Atari Lynx. So I bought a Nintendo 64, Super Nintendo.
You had a Virtual Boy there too, did you?
I do have one. Yeah, this one actually, I mean, it never got released in Europe. I don't know if you knew that. This is not the box. This is a slipcover that I did because
you made that.
Okay. Yeah.
I looked the part. I was surprised when you said that picture. I'm like, wow, he's got one in the box. That's impressive.
Yeah, no. It was never released in Europe. I had never heard about that until I was way older. And I got one for pieces from eBay from the US with decent enough shipping costs. It wasn't working, but it was a pretty well documented problem that literally only took me to take apart the visors and heat them in the oven. Okay, it was something had to do with the plastic melting, and that did the trick. So it's working, yeah. And I have a handful of games too. But what I was going, I also bought the NES. So I got really crazy with game collecting, and I mean, always focusing on portable systems. I even had the first console that had interchangeable cartridges, which is Milton Bradley something, which is really weird. Like its screen resolution is like.
I don't think it was called that in America. I think it might have had a different name here. Not the something.
It was MB, but Milton Bradley, you know the brand, right? Okay. I don't know the name, but
it was like 20 pixels by 20 pixel screen.
Yeah, something like that. And but it had one of the first licensed Star Trek games, so that kind of dark. I really got into that kind of dark. Also, the Japanese only systems like the Wonder Swan and that kind of stuff. Yeah, Tim.
The Microvision.
Microvision. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that one. Did you remember that, or did you look it up?
No, I looked that up. I've never even heard of it.
Yeah. But then that stopped when the toys arrived in my life, and when toy photography arrived in my life. I only buy now. Well, I do still have a collection of Switch games, and I bought 3DS games and DS games back in the day. But the collecting side of vintage video games has come to a stop, and I even have sold in the last couple of years, not a lot, but a decent part of my collections to be able to buy the toys and stuff.
Yeah. Is there anything on your list, Fernando? I know, so you're saying, and I totally get that, like you've kind of refocused your efforts, but is there one game or system or something out there that still eludes you that you would love to get and add to your collection at some point?
There was a really, really limited edition of a white Game Gear that came with the TV tuner, and that came instead of a box, it came with a suitcase, a white hard case suitcase. It's really limited, but that was like a dream of mine back when I was collecting, because there's a lot of Game Gear systems. I also have, these ones, like this one is in red. Amazing. There's a lot of, there's a yellow one. There's a Coca-Cola branded one. So there's a lot of stuff. But that white one was a grail of mine back in the day, because most of the other grails that I had, I ended up having. Also, another grail that I did get was Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge for the Game Boy, which is not a hard game to get, but it's expensive, and if you don't want to pay, but I think, I mean, I'm pretty happy with what I got. I have let some of it go. I'm pretty happy with what I have now. I can even downsize it a little bit, and I know if I would enter again and start checking stuff out, and this would be great to have, but I just cannot afford it anymore in a way. So I'm happy where I'm at. Yeah.
Awesome. Tim, I know this is a tough question for you, right? Because you're not actively seeking anything, but if you could have something, like if it would just appear, like what would be the grail for you?
Minton Box Mousetrap.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I would get a little case for it. I would put it up on the wall. That'd be cool.
And then you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm done with that.
I would never buy it. I would never search it out. But if someone was going to just hand me something, I that would be great. Because again, that's a super important game to me.
This was a ColecoVision one?
Yeah.
Vision mouse.
Or if someone wanted to give me the Mousetrap arcade cabinet, I would be totally fine with that as well.
Wow. Probably a little tougher to come by. Maybe not. I don't know. Mousetrap complete in box, $16.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an affordable dream.
It's not much of a dream.
Yeah, but we could make it happen. Yeah, for $16, there's another complete one for $35. But that's funny. I didn't know if it'd be hundreds of dollars or whatnot. So,
plus cool. It's sealed. That's sealed. It should be sealed.
Oh, you need a sealed one. Okay. Yeah, you can't have anyone touching your game.
Just handing me like anything out of my dreams. I mean, it might as well be sealed, right?
Come on. Yeah, indeed.
Mousetrap sealed.
Actually, before you tell us yours, Alan, I just thought about one game that I would love to have because this one is a reproduction box. Okay, this is Sonic Blast as well. This is regarded like the hardest game to get. It was really late. It was 1997, so the PlayStation 1 had already come out when this was released. It's like its attempt to compete with Donkey Kong because this was the first game with Sonic with digitized graphics on an 8-bit system. It didn't look too hot, but this one, I have the original cartridge, but the box and manual is a reproduction. The rest, the rest of the stuff I've shown is original, but this is not because it goes for about 2,000 euros. So that's
wild. Yeah,
I mean, if you want to buy Mousetrap and Sonic Blast European edition,
let me get everybo's Christmas list here going. I love that you did that though. That you made that case for that yourself.
Yeah. I've done a lot of stuff. I think I told you I was so pissed off when the Switch games came with nothing inside that I started printing in my home, printing like mini manuals or artwork for the games to have something to put inside. Yeah, I'm that kind of guy.
Amazing.
Yeah, I've printed as well manuals for the Game & Watches because I'm not gonna buy an original Game & Watch manual for 30 euros. It doesn't make sense to me, right? So I left a lot of that stuff.
Something awesome you could do is one of those, like, sell a Switch game where you made the manual for it, and you will cause such an uproar because one person will be convinced that this game came with a manual.
What variant is this? What is
they'll be telling everyone like, no, mine came with the manual. It did. That's so funny. $140 for a sealed copy of Mousetrap. So
okay,
you're good.
Okay. So what about you, Alan?
Oh wait, we got what did Keith say about the manual here? He said, trust me, when games stopped coming with manuals, it ticked me off too, since I used to write those. That's right. Yeah. Keith he used to write manuals, he used to write strategy guides. So he's got a real
that's so cool.
Amazing history when it comes to video games. Me, like a game, that's I'm trying to. I don't know that I have like a holy grail or something I want to track down. There's kind of one, like, and I've talked to Tim about this. One thing I thought about, like, hey, it'd be neat if on my display I want to make a Zelda shelf, and I thought it'd be really neat to start to get copies of all the different Zelda games, like, and the gold cartridges and everything, and just put them in the back. And I started looking at like the CDI games, which are the really awful, like, licensed out Zelda games. And I don't know, I thought there was only 2, but maybe there's 3 of them. I'm not certain.
I think there's 3.
Yeah, the
about 2 Zelda, one about Link, and one about Ganondorf, if I'm not wrong.
All I know is 2 are affordable. Like 2 are obtainable. 1 is absolutely not. So maybe whatever that third one was didn't get around really bad. These are awful, awful games. Like if again, compared to the cartoon, these are probably worse with the the voice acting or whatever they had in them. I thought those would be neat to get, but I guess my holy grail right now is just to go out and get the gold NES cartridge for the original Legend of Zelda, Adventure of Link. I don't know. Did they do? They did do gold ones for the Nintendo 64, I think, for Ocarina of Time.
The European version I have for Ocarina is gold, at least. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would like to. I think that would just be a fun project to have to track those down. And actually, you know what? I will say what my grail is, and it is obtainable because I've been looking at them. I love the artwork and the look of the Japanese versions of the Legend of Zelda games. So I haven't pulled the trigger on those, but I am looking at some auctions, and they're affordable.
I have somewhere laying around here the Famicom disc version of the Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah, the disc version, yeah.
The disc version is such a cute little box, and the artwork is
that's what I've been looking at. They're really, really cool. So I think those would look nice in a collection, if I were to use that word, if I was to collect those. But
so you are a collector.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's debatable. It's debatable.
And I feel like your admission might be a good time to put a bow on this. I feel like that might be a way to kind of start wrapping things up, because Alan did admit he does collect.
Yep, we all heard it.
Yes. Yeah. I have those collector tendencies as much as I try to fight it now, but my name is Alan and I have a problem. This has been great though, Fernando. I feel like we could have talked for hours and hours again. So I think we'll have to do this again soon.
Yeah, of course.
Maybe we'll try to find we'll find specific things to talk about, because video games, like this topic is huge, but I'd like to know even what games you're into. What are you playing now? We could talk probably forever about the Switch 2, since there was that Nintendo Direct there, but we'd love to have you back to talk more about that, and then talk about the toys from the games. I'd like to see more of your shelf.
That's a good topic as well. Yeah, that'd be great. I'd be happy to be here. Yeah, chatting with you guys.
Cool,
awesome.
Of course.
Yeah, this was a blast. See, I talked more about video games than I thought. When Alan and I were talking about this originally, I'm like, I'm not going to have anything to say.
I'm not going to say anything.
No, they're there. It's again, it's I love the nostalgia of it, right? And I know you're not playing games as much these days, Tim, but it's still those pixels are there in your heart.
Yeah, they're in my heart.
Before you close this up, since we're talking about nostalgia, I'm also pretty big on video game art books. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so they have these gorgeous impressions of the video game art from several systems. I mean, it's a sight to behold, and taking in all the art that went into those old games of our childhood.
I think there's a Game Boy Advance version of that too. Oh, what is this?
Yeah, maybe this one is the Sega Master System. It's also a lenticular cover as well.
Very cool.
It also has, this is from Bitmap Books. It also features gorgeous artwork from together with stories.
Yeah, seeing that stuff, I love this. And again, I know we're wrapping up, but there was the EGM, if you're familiar with them, Electronic Gaming Monthly.
Yeah.
I backed that Kickstarter. Keith did as well, where you get access to a digital archive of every issue of EGM, and I've been loving going back to 2001 or whatever the Game Boy Advance came out, reading all the previews of it, everybody talking about how it's cutting edge, and all of the pictures I noticed, the screen looks so bright. And if you remember that Game Boy Advance, you needed the sun to be right on top of it, the worm lights.
Exactly.
But I love the nostalgia of that, and I love the book. So awesome. Yeah, so much more to talk about. Fernando, again, it's been great to hang out with you and chat. Thanks.
Likewise,
for walking us down memory lane there, with your console and your collection.
Yeah. Thanks to everyone who were chatting with us. That was a lot of fun. And Alan and I are going to actually be back in 2 hours talking about some more nonsense.
So okay. It will be a little bit late for me. I won't join that one.
Watch the rerun.
11 here.
Yeah, but again, I think this time worked out. So we found a spot that works. So we definitely have to do this again in the future, Fernando. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for listening.
And Alan, thank you everyone. Thanks everyone. Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
See you guys.
Perfectly excellent.